So a new Chinese airliner may soon take to the skies. It's called the C919, and it looks a lot like Boeing 737. And as Kris Van Cleave explains, development of this jet may have been assisted by espionage.
Tonight, China's new C919 airliner is a growing threat to the U.S. economy, poised to take flight, says former Deputy National Security Advisor Matt Pottinger.
Beijing's goals for its aerospace industry is to dominate the global space and drive its competitors out of business.
A low-cost domestic airliner positioning China to one day capture one of the world's largest markets for jets. But if it looks a lot like an Airbus A320 or Boeing 737, that is by design.
China has a lot of different ways of relieving people of their intellectual property.
60% of the plane's components are the results of deals with America's top aerospace companies. But that access to the massive Chinese market comes at a price.
If you want to sell stuff to 1.3 billion people in China, you're going to have to give us the blueprints for your goods. And this is what we call forced technology transfer. And in some cases, it wasn't that it was sold to them on the market, but rather provided through industrial espionage.
How strong is the link between Chinese espionage and the C919?
It's directly related.
Bill Evanina was America's top counterintelligence official when a 2019 CrowdStrike report revealed one major focus of Beijing's spycraft: components of the C919. Do you feel like they stole an airliner?
I don't feel that way. I think that's a fact.
U.S. investigators proved Chinese intelligence officer Xu Yanjun focused on American aviation companies. One main target, a GE engineer specializing in jet engine design.
First process is what they do all the time: invite them over to China to give a speech.
Xu's outreach caught the attention of the FBI, who engineered a sting operation with wiretaps. Speaking in Chinese, Xu asked the employee to bring his company laptop and carry the stuff along. Xu then traveled to Belgium, where the FBI was waiting. Late last year, he was sentenced to 20 years in a U.S. prison for spying.
It's the first time ever where we sentenced a known intelligence officer running a cell collecting aviation technology to benefit the civilian and military apparatus of the Communist Party of China. It was monumental.
And Kris Van Cleave joins us here in Studio 57 with more on this. Kris, always great to see you. I haven't seen you in person, I think, for years.
It's been a minute.
So this is a moment. So look, if it looks like a 737, quacks like a 737, it probably is one. When will this Chinese aircraft take to the skies? Could we see it coming here to the States?
Well, so it is very close to receiving certification to fly passengers in China. So that first passenger flight inside of China could really happen any day now. It has not been looked at or approved by the FAA, so it is not licensed to operate in the U.S. I don't think you'll see it at a U.S. airport in the foreseeable future. But that's not necessarily the plan for this airplane. The thought is have it dominate the Chinese market over time, which in the next few years will become the largest market for jets. And then I think we'll start to see it is gets sold to the developing world, where they can offer an airplane. Their whole plan is to offer an airplane that competes with the Airbus A320 or the 737 at a much lower price. And some of the ways they've been able to do that is certainly, it appears, espionage as a factor, and then these joint ventures and acquiring technology to build the plane. And then I think then what we'll see over time is that more and more of that will just be built in China.
And we've seen China do this with many other U.S. products, whether they're vehicles, computers, and it's part of that intelligence sharing, they would call it, espionage, as the expert you've spoken with calls it, that they've done for a long time. And that would put the U.S. at a competitive disadvantage. Your report also points to 60% of the components of this aircraft come from U.S. aerospace companies. So how did the U.S. allow that to happen, and where is the middle ground here?
So, look, all of those components were legally sold. What typically has happened in the past, where you have seen China, you go into these joint ventures, and then that company will start to make another version of that product, sourced and developed in China. They start buying that, stop buying the U.S. engine, the U.S. products. So take the jet engines on this plane. They're made by GE and Seraphim. It's CFM, a joint venture. Well, China is already developing an engine that looks an awful lot like the engine on that airplane right now. And the idea is to phase out the U.S.-built components. Engines are difficult to build. There's only a few companies in the world that build the sophisticated, highly efficient jet engines. As they figure out the secret sauce there's a reason they were targeting a GE aviation engineer who focused on jet engine design. So as that engine, as the Chinese work out the kinks in their own engine, they're not going to buy the foreign-made engine. They're going to buy their own.
It's fascinating to watch how this unfolds, and we'll likely see much more of this coming from China. Kris Van Cleave, great to see you. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.